Hi, in this tutorial we will build these emoji reaction animations directly in SwiftUI. These are similar to the reaction animations in Facebook Live, but we will go further by showing you how to animate SVG illustrations with SwiftUI. The purpose of this tutorial is very simple, is to make you gain the skills to build lottie-like and rive-like animations directly in SwiftUI. We have a lot to cover in this tutorial, so let's begin. Before we start creating anything, let's look at what we will learn in this video. In this tutorial, you will learn about how to rotate objects in 3D. As Edward Balwa once said, in art, as in life, the beautiful moves in curves. I'll show you how to turn a rectilinear or a straight line movement into a beautiful curve motion. We will look into how you can bring an SVG illustration into Xcode and animate the various layers directly with SwiftUI. You will learn about several other SwiftUI animation techniques. So let's run the app to see the final project. When you run the app with the Xcode preview, this is the animation you will see. You can see over here we have the reactions and an animated SVG illustration. All these were created in the SwiftUI project. When you run the animation on a rare device like the iPhone, the device camera shows at the background of the animations, like what you see here. Since this is an animation tutorial, I do not show how to set up the camera. But when you download this project from GitHub, you can go to the folder Live Camera. This is the code that displays the camera at the background of the animations. You can get it from this GitHub repo. Since this application makes use of the user's camera, when they run the application on their device for the first time, we need to ask their permission to use the device camera. To set this configuration, you can select the app, go to the Info tab. Under the key, you have to set the privacy, camera usage description. The type is a string. You can see here I have set it as Facebook Live clone would like to access your camera. If you fail to configure this, you will not see the device camera when you run the app. When you download the completed project from GitHub, there is also another version. We will not create this version in this tutorial because it is similar to what we will do, but we can get this from the project. Now let's look at the essential resources that accompany this project. The first is the repo. I have uploaded the Xcode project in this folder, Animated Emoji Reactions. So I encourage you to download it from this GitHub repo to explore all the other animations. Most of the animations I showed previously are contained in this article, so we will not create them again in this project. But we can look for this article on the Stream website that contains other animations as well. If you are looking to build a video calling application, I will encourage you to check Stream Video. You can sign up for an early access on the Stream website. Apart from the device camera that shows at the background of the animations, when you go to the project navigator, you can see this folder UI that contains the actual UI. So we have the top view, we have the compose area and comments view. The content of the comments also pulls a sample data from this data source. Under the animation folder, you can find all the animations. So let's start to build the heart exclamation animation. In this animation, you will learn how to rotate objects using 3D rotation. So you can rotate objects on the Y coordinate or on the X coordinate. The icon is too small, so let's enlarge it by adding the scale effect modifier. To create animations in SwiftUI, you need a state that says the initial state of the animation. Let's begin by creating this state is Y rotating and set it as double. So this is the initial rotation angle. When you look at the Vista container, it has two images, the heart icon and a circle. So the animation will only be applied to the heart icon. So we want to trigger this animation automatically when the view appears. To do that, we can add the onAppear modifier and then use it to set the final state of the animation using the state we defined here. So let's copy that. For the final animation state, we will say is Y rotating equals 360 degrees. That is one complete revolution. Next, we have to add the property we want to animate. This is 3D rotation animation, so we can use the 3D rotation modifier. For the angle, we can set it in radians or in degrees. Let's use degrees and use the state Using the 3D rotation modifier, you can rotate objects along the X, Y, and Z axis. So for this animation, we want to rotate the object only on the Y axis. In that case, we can set all the other parameters to 0. So let's set the X coordinate to 0 and the Z coordinate to 0 as well. Then we set the Y coordinate to 1. That is all we need to do for the 3D Y rotation animation. But to see this animation, we need to add the animation modifier. So above the on appear, we will add the animation modifier. So for this, we need to define the ease-in equation. Let's use ease-in-out and set the duration of this animation to 1 second. Next, we have to specify the value. For the value parameter, we need to use the state we defined. I will press Alt, Command, and P to preview the animation. You can see it rotates only once. Let's repeat the animation forever by attaching the repeat forever modifier after the ease-in-out. This takes the parameter auto reverses. Let's set it to false. And that is all we need to create the 3D Y rotation animation. We can also rotate the object on the X axis. In that case, we can set the Y axis to 0 and set the X to 1. We now have the rotation only on the X axis. If we put 1, it will rotate on both X and Y axis. This is not what we want. So let's undo the change. We will use this animation on another screen. So let's remove the scale effect here so that we have the original size. In the final animation I showed previously, there is hand raised animation which is similar to this animation. It uses 3D Y rotation and offset. So we won't create this animation, but we can find it in the final project. Let's go to the next animation. In this example, we want to animate some chat bubbles. First, we will create a straight line movement. Then I'll show you how to use the CSS concept, offset rotate, to move the object on an arc. Secondly, I'll show you how to use custom timing curves for this animation. So I have already defined this state, show bubbles, for the animation and set the initial state to false. In total, we have 5 images in this parent container Z-stack. So they are arranged on top of one another. We will trigger this animation also automatically. So let's look at the container holding all the views, that is this Z-stack. So you can see here, I have applied the onAppear modifier and toggle the state show bubble. So in this animation, there are 3 properties to be animated: scale, opacity, and rotation. Let's begin with scale. We use the state we already defined, along with a ternary conditional operation. You can see here, the initial state is set to false. So when the condition is true, we scale the bubble to 1, and when it is false, we scale it to 0 so that it becomes invisible. Also, let's add rotation. As the bubble scales from 0 to 1, we want to rotate it at an angle from 0 to -25. We don't see any animation. So let's add the animation modifier. So here we added the animation modifier and set the ease-in function and delay the animation after every 5 seconds, and also repeat the animation forever by setting auto reverses to false. The animation is showing, but since we have all the bubbles stacked on top of one another, this view is the one that is behind all the other views. So to see the animation in action, let's remove all these images. So after every 5 seconds, the animation is going to show with rotation and scale. Let's undo the change to bring all the other images. Next, we will add an offset animation. Before we do that, let's put a comment on all the other images so that we see only the animation. So when the bubble scales and rotates, we want to also animate the offset. We add the offset modifier and we are interested in only the Y coordinate to move it upward. The negative value will make it move upwards. If I remove that, now it is going to move downwards. So let's undo the change. So we now have our first bubble animation, but this is a straight line motion. To make the bubble move along a curve, we need to use the CSS concept, offset rotate. With this, you can make object follow a circular path by moving from one place to another. To do that in SwiftUI, what we need to do is to place the offset modifier above rotation effect. In this example, we have the rotation effect above the offset modifier. So let's swap the positions. So we now have the bubble moving on an arc. Let's change the rotation to, for example, 60. So that changes the curve movement. So this is how to animate the bubble using scale effect, offset, and rotation effect. All the animations for the other bubbles are the same as the one we just created, but they have different angle of rotations. So I will paste the animation for all the other bubbles as well. So this is all about how to animate the bubbles using rotation, scale, and offset. Let's move on to the next by animating an SVG illustration. You can find all the assets for this animation in the assets library. You can see here we have the body face and all the other parts. If I select it here and control click and then select quick look, you can see this is an SVG image. So by using basic container views in SwiftUI, we can arrange the SVG character like this. Basically, you can use H stack, Z stack, and a V stack for arranging the SVG illustration. Behind the SVG illustration is also an SF symbol, which is wand icon. So for this animation, we are going to use all these states. The first one will be used for creating rotation animation. Its blinking will be used for blinking the eyes of the illustration. Its talking will be used for animating the mouth. Let's begin with the wand icon. For the wand icon, we need rotation and hue rotation animations. So over here, we set all the initial states of the animation. And once we go down, you can see here we have the onAppear modifier where we set the final states of the animation. So let's paste this code for the wand icon. You can see here we have the hue rotation modifier. Then we have 2D rotation and the animation modifier. So to see this animation, I'm going to remove the other parts of the illustration. So this is the rotation animation we just added over here. Once the wand icon rotates, you can see its color also changes. I'm going to undo the change so that we have the other views. For the second animation, we are going to animate the container holding the right hand and the wand icon. So the right hand is also hidden behind the illustration. What you see here is the left hand. So for this parent container, we want to add a rotation animation. So you can see here the wand icon is just at the tip of the right hand, but the right hand is not rotating because we haven't added the animation yet. So let's add the animation modifier here. For this animation, we are going to use a custom timing curve. All the animations we have created previously, they use the default or standard easing equations in SwiftUI. So we have ease out over here. This is a standard easing function. But now we are going to use a custom timing curve. The timing curve has all these control points. To use custom timing equations for SwiftUI animations, you can go to the website easings.net. We have different kinds of custom timing curves which you can use for your SwiftUI animations. But the one we are looking for is ease in out back. This gives the animation a form of anticipation. Just look at the object closely. Before it moves to the top, you can see it moves back slightly before the primary motion, which is the upward motion. So this gives the animation a form of anticipation. So to use this easing curve, let's click that. All we need is to copy the control points. You can see here, this is a cubic Bezier function, but we need only the parameters, that is the control points. With those selected, I'm going to press Command C to copy, and then we come back to the SwiftUI project. Let's select all the control points here and press backspace to delete. Then we can now paste the one we have in the clipboard. Next, we have to add the value parameter. So for this animation, the value here is the same as this state variable. So let's copy it and paste it here. If I preview, you can see the hand rotates only once, but the wand icon keeps on rotating. After the custom timing curve, we can add a delay of 1 second and also repeat the animation forever. We now rotate the wand icon and the right hand forever, but they have different ease-in functions. The wand icon uses the ease-in function, ease in out. The right hand then uses this custom timing curve we added from the easins.net website. Next, we will animate the right eye. To animate the right eye, we are going to create a blinking effect using scale, and then we use the custom timing curve. So you can see here we have the state is blinking, and we use it along with a ternary conditional operation and set the true value to 0 and the false value to 1 to create the blinking effect. So this is how to animate the right eye. The left eye has a similar animation that also creates the blinking effect using scale and the custom timing curve, but with different values. Next, we will create the mouth animation. For this, we are going to create two different scale animations, scale X and scale Y. Let's add the scale X animation. So this animation scales the mouth only on the X coordinate. Then we set the anchor point to the top so that the effect takes place from the top. When we animate the X and Y coordinates separately, it creates an interesting effect. For example, let's remove the X here and see what happens. Now we have both X and Y scaling at the same time, but that is not what we want. So I will undo the change. Let's apply a second animation to the mouth using the Y coordinate. So you can see this animation is similar to the first one. The first one uses the ease-in function, ease in, but now we have ease out. So let's look at the difference by removing the Y coordinate so that we scale both X and Y. And here we do the same thing. We scale both X and Y at the same time. This is how the mouth animation will look like. You can see this is not interesting at all. But if we animate them separately, that creates this nice mouth animation. For the last animation of the SVG illustration, we are going to animate the left hand. For this animation, we want to animate the offset so that it moves the hand slightly left to right. This animation also uses the custom timing curve from easins.net. So this is how you can animate the SVG illustration directly in SwiftUI. Let's move on to the next, where we have the reactions view. This view contains all the other animations. So when we go to this folder, already built, you can see we have some other animations here, like tears of joy, the hand raised animation I showed previously, and then revolving hearts animation. There is also the clapping hands emoji animation. We didn't create the clapping hands and revolving hearts animation because you can find them from the article Learn how to bring your own SwiftUI app to life with advanced animations. You can find this from the stream website. In each of the views here, we use hue rotation, offset, scale, and rotation to move the view away from one of the icons here onto the top edge of the screen. And using the offset rotation concept I showed previously, you can see most of the icon move on a circular path instead of moving in a straight line to the top edge of the screen. On this screen, what is left is the heart exclamation animation we created previously. So let's bring it there. So this is the heart exclamation view, and that is hidden behind this 3D heart icon. So we will add rotation, offset, hue rotation, and scale the icon so that it moves from this location to the top edge of the screen. So let's paste this code. You can see here it has the scale effect. Then we have hue rotation, which changes the color as it moves to the top edge. Then we have offset and 2D rotation. So this shows the heart exclamation animation. To bring all these animations together, we show them on one screen. On this screen, you can see we have everything. The compose area, the top view, that is the recording view. We didn't create a recording animation here, but you can find it from the project. under Animations. Hosted View Controller is the live camera view. When you go to the project navigator, you can find it from the folder Live Camera. Then we have the top view that consists of the live button, the number of people watching, and then today's date. Then we have the SVG illustration we just created and the compose area. There is also another version of all the animations, but here we have an animated comment. But we have all the other animations we created previously also on this screen. This is all about creating these animated emoji reactions here inside SwiftUI. To recap, in this tutorial, I showed you how to build lottie-like and rive-like animations directly in SwiftUI. Specifically, we built emoji reaction animations for live video events. With the knowledge, tips and tricks you gained from this tutorial, I believe you can now start to use SwiftUI today to build great iOS animations for your next apps. My name is Amos. For more SwiftUI animation tips and tricks, I encourage you to subscribe to the YouTube channel of Stream Developers. Thanks for watching this video.